Good morning, everyone. Very happy that you made it this early, even after this fabulous evening last night. Welcome to our topic of the morning, which I think is affecting most of us, maybe even most people in the future. We will talk about the effects of artificial intelligence and data science, talk about what will happen actually to roles and jobs, what's the role of the human being if we take more control or give it over to machines with artificial intelligence. And basically, what will we do? What can we do? What skills should we invest in? I mean, the average age at this conference is maybe, I don't know, 30, 35. So we still have a lot of years ahead of us, most of us, to work. But the question is, what will we do if machines take over more and more jobs? So that's basically the topic I would like to talk about. The basic idea is AI and data science is about automation, no doubt about that. Automation means there will be tasks and jobs and roles that will be replaced. So machines will do jobs that people do today. And the big question is, and we see a lot of this debate in the newspapers, in the magazines, how will this change actually happen? So there are some estimates that up to 40% of all jobs will be replaced in the next, sometimes it's 5 years, sometimes it's 10 years, but quite a huge number. And if you read the latest studies around this, there's some notion that maybe it's less, maybe it's not so, maybe we have a more gradual transition into the new way. So honestly, no one really knows. It's a bit of a guesswork, but this is exactly the topic I would like to talk about today. And we will see two sides of the equation. One side is, if you look at the history of automation, typically it created more jobs than it destroyed. If you look at the last big waves of innovation. And then there's the other side of the argument. People are saying, oh, this time it will be different. We never had something like this before, that we had real artificial intelligence. So this time it will be different. We will all be replaced and out of the job. So these are basically the two sides of the equation, and I'm really interested. I'm looking forward to hear what our esteemed panelists will have to say to that. So with that, I like to ask you to come to the stage. Not leave me alone. And I'd like to ask you to welcome our panelists. First one would be Holger Kömm. He is with... So we have Holger Kömm, Director of the Data Science Lab at Adidas in Herzogenaurach, but obviously internationally. Then we have Marcel Kling. He's Director Customer Data and Advanced Analytics at Lufthansa. I'm very happy to welcome, most of you know him already, Alex Borek. He's Head of Data Analytics at VW Financial Services. And then Kröger at the LMU in Munich, Head of the Data Lab. So this is the group of people, all very much involved with this topic, from a practical experience, from a bit of an academic background. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion today. And I would like to start the round with an opening statement. So I would like to ask you about your position on this topic that I just introduced, and give us your insights. So what do you think? What will happen? What's your perception on AI and the future of work, the future of skills and jobs? Maybe we start with Holger.
Check the microphone is working. Good. So actually for me, the introduction of AI, is it loud enough? Do you really hear me? Good. For me, AI is nothing else than the introduction of the computers in the 70s or 80s. It was the same phenomenon. There was a new system that's helping you to more efficiently get done what needs to be done. What AI is doing today is just helping us to automate even to the next level. And a simple statement is, whatever you can do in Excel, you can fully automate in an AI. And this is where we are going. Whatever you do in Excel at the moment will be automated by the AI. It's just a question of time. But AI is very expensive. It's nothing that's coming for free or on low cost, so this will take time. It's nothing that's done by tomorrow. And because this is a transition over the next 5-10 years, we have a lot of time to develop all those systems. To the question, is it replacing our jobs? It is transitioning many jobs we have. We have a lot of people working in front of Excel and being very happy with that. A good example is any product needs to be in any store by Saturday. That's a job that's normally done in Excel. Tomorrow, this will just be done by the machine. But we have so many new jobs to work on to keep the system alive, to monitor the system, that I believe there are more jobs to come than people being replaced by other positions. On top of this, what we realize is whenever we are coming up with a new AI, it's not replacing 100% of a job description. It's maybe replacing 5 or 10% of your job description, and then people have free space to just work on another area. I've never seen so far that one person really got 100% replaced by an AI. That's, in my opinion, not going to happen. The variety of jobs we are doing is too complex, and AIs are very specific to the point.
So if I work 100% of my time in Excel, I should be really worried?
Yep.
Okay, that's a very clear statement. Thank you. Marcel.
Thank you, good morning. If you work 100% of your time in Excel, you should be worried anyway. You should go out.
Agree.
No, you don't. So my statement, good morning, my statement is basically around the jobs that Holger was basically introducing, or the roles that will change. AI will create roles, and I make a statement that is say that it's going to be 3 roles that we see. It's basically around AI, roles are going to be created, or jobs are going to be created. The trainers, the sustainers or gardeners, and the explainers. So these 3 are still necessary in the near future to really make AI happen, to really make AI productive and make AI work for humankind. That's the one side of it, and I think though for the long term, and that's really hard to tell, and this is why I really actually don't want to focus on it too much, because it's hard to predict, and so many people who have tried to predict long term what happens in automation or so are now quotes of misinterpreting the future. But I would say in general, don't trust computers, and be aware as humans. That's my other statement of it.
Great. My statement would start with disagreeing with the first speaker here. So I really think that in the next 10, 20 years there will be, and further on, there will be a huge reduction of job roles that are not so easy to replace. Look at the truck drivers, taxi drivers. Very easy example. Even in the legal space, there's a lot of legal work which is just research, just things that a machine can do very well to a certain degree. If you look at what happens when an insurance claim comes in, all the processes, the manual processes, which is still a lot of paper shifting often. If you look at that, if you digitize that process, you can automate a lot of things. And so on and so on. You can go on and look at it from all sides, but there will be lots of professions that are under risk. It's always a matter of time, and I think there is some research done, I think by some Harvard guys or MIT guys, to look at which professions will be at risk at which time. So for me, the key question is right now we tax human labor. We don't tax machine labor. If we want to keep our society somehow in balance, I think the shift that we need to take is to do it vice versa, to tax machines and not tax humans, and maybe subsidize human work. Now, the problem that you have in that is that taxing human labor is very easy, because you work in a certain country and you can track that human. Now, how do you do that with algorithms? An algorithm can be put into an Amazon cloud in Frankfurt and can be shifted to an Amazon cloud in the US, on China or Hawaii or Cayman Islands or worse. So maybe at the end you have all algorithms in a small island in the Pacific, and nobody pays tax anymore. If you look at how all the big players from Silicon Valley work, I mean, it's so much less people than in the past, and all these algorithms that they have, they can put them anywhere already today, and they pay tax where they want to pay tax almost. Even corporations like Starbucks that are not fully digital but sort of partially digital have used that in a global context. But I think it will be much easier with algorithms if you don't rely on the human to do work to a large degree. So I think there will be huge challenges, and I think we are not prepared for that.
Okay, I try to be even more controversial, since I'm probably the only one who has no compliance department in my neck. For my compliance is Freiheit der Forschung und Lehre. So, regardless what my personal opinion is, I try to do a little research. So I strived around archive and found some papers about very interesting papers about neural networks that are able to train themselves, to replicate themselves. So given this capacity, together with the capacity of neural networks that you can incorporate knowledge, expert knowledge, quite easily nowadays. So the only thing that, the only missing link for me to really make the human obsolete is the computing power. But okay, quantum computing is coming. Okay, Google at least says that they are not having the gate model yet with the chip, but I mean, they say A and they have B, typically. So putting all that together, it is at least somehow possible that, we're not talking about the next 5 years, but the next 10 to 20 years, that we as humans are completely obsolete, because the neural networks can train themselves, they can replicate themselves. So what should we do anymore?
That's an interesting question. So obviously the data scientist is even not immune, so he's driving the change, but in the end will be replaced also because of these developments. But maybe we get a bit of a reply here from Holger and Marcel. We have a nice divide here, so which is firing up our discussion a bit. But what do you think of that, Holger?
I first would like to go into the statement of all the self-driving trucks are coming and so forth. In the US and in Western Europe as well, we massively lack truck drivers, and I would take a bet of €1,000 that in 5 years we will still lack truck drivers. We will not have fully automated systems that are driving the trucks. That would be my bet.
Could you
take now? So in 5 years we will lack truck drivers. So what I see is that what we do as humans is way more complex than what we expect at the moment, what AI can doing. And I think Tesla is the one that was now coming back and saying, well, automation is not the magic bullet I was expecting it to be. I have a lot of problems in my production now. And going back to the question, will it replace people? I think we are from two completely different industries. In your industry, I think many people are doing really just one job, being in front of one system, and robotics would concern me if I would be in one of those production lines. In my industry, nobody is doing just one job. We all do at least 20, 30 different jobs. And the AI will maybe replace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. There will be a transition. If I think about it, was very, very difficult to find good people for the company. I will not fire one of them. We need all of them. If I can take off some of the tasks they have to work on, I'm really happy, because we have so many projects on our table we cannot work on because we don't have capacity, that we are really happy to work on them. To the point of what can AI do, and to the statement AI will replace the human, I do totally not agree, for a good reason. Our business is about emotions. We're in the marketing industry. We are the biggest marketing company in Europe, and all about marketing is emotions. Tell me one AI that can explain you anything about emotions. I have never seen one. If somebody is coming around and asking me, Holger, can you write an AI that's telling me how the next marketing campaign should look like? I say, well, forget about it. AI is good about cognitive intelligence, but not at all about emotional intelligence. We can now talk about weak AI and strong AI, and is strong AI coming? So far, it's not coming at all. It's far away. It's all weak AI. So whatever AI is doing, it's a cognitive task, whatever is repetitive. If I can describe it in do step 1, 2, 3, AI is your best friend to make the job done. But there are so many other jobs about how should the next product look like, product development. This is about emotions. This is about understanding your consumer. And AI, and going back to Marcel's statement, don't trust the machine, I would not trust the AI to come up with a good recommendation how the next product should look like. And this is where we are, from my perspective, far away from the machine is taking over control. I would even take a bet that if a company is only run on AI and in the emotional business, it would go bankrupt. It would not survive.
Just read an article that the expansion of Flixbus is hindered by the lack of bus drivers, actually. So that supports with your statement. But I think there was one key statement in there that you said you are lacking the good people. So you're lacking the people that you are looking for. But the big question is, what is that? And Marcel, you said you had 3 roles in mind that you think are really needed in the future. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, good. I could also elaborate on good people. It's really, of course, it's good is very subjective. However, I think a point is usually that what we see, and I'm not talking about like in 10 years or 20 years, what we see right now is sometimes a lack, basically, of willingness or ability of people to go into the complexity of what it means to do, basically around the business that we do or around the machines that we try to build, move, or expand. So from my general point of view, I'd say that basically we lack the good people or lack the good skills. Basically, it would be a willingness and an ability to invest into the complexity of what's actually done and to misinterpret the fact that consuming in the digital age or the digital world is really easy. Yeah, being a consumer of any kind of interface at the moment is really nice. Of a consumer interface is really nice and it's really easy. And many people who get in to that kind of digital world or try to get into the digital business have a misinterpretation that actually the doing and creating or sustaining of the digital business is actually the same. It is not. It's actually pretty complex. It's actually also right now pretty complex because we deal with massive legacy processes, legacy skills, legacy systems. So basically the ability to go deep and to do not deep learning in that sense, so deep work is actually hindered or is not there in the quantity. That's a phenomenon that we see right now on the labor market, basically, or that we see in people who we try to attract. Sometimes they misrepresent that kind of idea. So basically, the jobs that we are about to create or that we're about to transform or transition, I think the most important or the most interesting one right now is the explainer, because still AI has not come. This is a small community, comparatively small community. You could begin to think about filter bubbles if you talk about how far has AI come. I mean, it's in the news, but what is the quality of the current Berichterstattung in the news? Yeah? So what is the quality of the current statements that are in the general public media about artificial intelligence at the moment? It's not deep. It's not full of understanding of what it is or what it means. And the group of people who try to professionally deeply go into the details of what that actually means and how that actually works and what it will actually mean in, 5 years, 20 years, whatever, is relatively limited and relatively small yet. So the explainers are right now the most important group until they will be maybe then replaced by the sustainers, because if this comes into a larger quantity, then you need more gardeners, people who sustain the intelligence bit.
Okay, thank you. Alex, you wanted to reply?
Well, I would like to add another perspective on this whole thing. So the problem is that the thing is that right now the key thing that hinders us from machines performing in many places, and I would like to reply to this point because I think that was the most serious argument that you always hear. AI is not so far yet, and I would like to really put the focus on the yet. And I think the reason for that is that a lot of our world is today not digitized. So the machines can't see what we see, you know. And every day we are changing that. You know, we're putting a little sensor there, we digitizing a small process there. But as long as a lot of the processes have siloed databases, are paper-based, and you don't really see what's going on in a digital way, machines are in a massive disadvantage. And this shifts very rapidly. It's like from 0 to 1 once it's digitized, because then machines are, you know, sort of have a big advantage over the human, because they can, you know, process the data that comes from many places in a much better way than humans can do. And they can also learn something. Maybe they need sometimes a bit more time to learn, but that's also something that I would not always agree with, because a human needs often 30 years of education before a human can start really working such jobs. So if you would train a machine for 30 years, I'm pretty sure that it could do a lot of the tasks that we do today. So what are the last frontiers? Maybe it's creativity, but if you look at music, if you look at art, machines are pretty good at that. So I think it's for a lot of things it's a question of machines have the access to information, to see the world with the same eyes, with the same you know, ears, with the same senses that we have, and maybe some more senses, and then giving the opportunity to make sense of it, because I think that's a learning process, and for every human it's also a learning process. And I agree with you that we are not there yet. And I think it's really will depend on how fast you digitize the world, and that will change between, let's say, companies that are more traditional. I think it takes us longer, and maybe you know, sometimes we don't want to do that, because we have also some values that we want to protect, like human labor, for example. But there will be disruptors from the digital space, from the valley, that will try to disrupt your business, and that will force you to react in some way or other.
Yeah, that's pretty much in line what I tried to said. I was not talking about the next 5 years, as I said. So that's exactly the point. If you can really model all the expert knowledge that is there, digitalize everything, give the machines the chance to see what you see. That was a good formulation for that, I think. Then I'm pretty sure that you can do all that jobs that you guys mentioned by the machine. So it's only then the question is only, can we do that in terms of capacity? Have we enough storage? Do we have enough computing power and stuff like that? And people are working on that too. So once again, I'm not revealing my very personal opinion here, but taking these things together, the massive innovation in artificial intelligence, and also the massive innovation in computing capacity, and both are evolving in exponential scale. In exponential scale, you have to really think about exponential scale. It's not linear, not quadratic. It's exponential. It could be a threat. That was a little weaker now than before, but still.
I think we have to clarify one point. We are all on the same page here. It's not really a discussion about what we have, but we talk about different time frames. I'm talking about 5 to 10 years, while I see you talking a little bit more 50 to 100 years. Where are we going? And I would not make a statement about where are we in 50 years. That's.
Yeah, but I would really look at 10 to 30 years, you know, and not 5 years. I agree. In 5 years there won't be massive changes.
I have one big argument why I believe that the exponential growth we see at the moment is not sustainable, because everything we do now at the moment is coming for high costs, and it's because we are investing a lot of money into bring all the data together. We get the first feedbacks from different companies so far that the whole AI story, big data story, is not paying off for them. So what is changing now? They reduce the money. As soon as they reduce the money, the growth you see at the moment in AI will drop, and it will maybe be a linear growth and so forth. It's all about making money by the end of the day, and we have all spent so much money in the last 10 years because the expectations have been incredibly high, and it didn't materialize.
You're talking about traditional businesses. I think for new businesses, it has matured massively.
For some of them, yeah.
But I think a lot of the traditional are doomed. That's the problem.
Can we make an example? If you talk about Uber or the others, I wouldn't say they're in the AI business. It's just a completely different story. They use the internet as a platform, which is a completely different one. It's not AI. That's internet as a platform.
But look. I would. Can I just add something on this? Look, a company like My Taxi, you know, it has, I don't know how much, but less than 100 employees as far as I know, you know, and they're running a business in a lot of countries. You know, that means that there's a lot of automation in what they do.
Got it, but it's anyway not what I understand as an AI business. It's just a platform as a service. There's a new platform, but anyway, the driver is a taxi driver. The person who is bringing me from A to B is the taxi driver, the human, and it's just a platform that's providing me the service to find this person instead of going to a taxi station. So I would not take this as a disruptive business model. I'm totally fine with it, but because I'm still in the taxi business.
But that's just because we still miss the self-driving car. And here we go. Fully automated business.
That's another one. And here we talk about to which extent is AI disrupting. What all car producers are doing, they all implement now the logics of having self-driving cars. So by the end of the day, all of you will have the AI. So what makes the difference? You will change your service model, and you will, instead of selling cars, you will provide renting a car. Audi is now about to change the service model. We all know those stories. And this is what is going to happen. So for me, what AI is doing is massively improving our efficiency, how we operate. So the human output will massively increase, as it was with the introduction of the computers.
Yeah, that's a good point. But probably till that point where the human is the most inefficient point in the chain. And then we got erased in the chain, yeah. Because, as I said, I mean, we could think of neural networks or whatever who are capable, if we have the computational capabilities, to optimize manufacturing factories even.
And we will, if it's cheaper, we will.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what will happen. Yeah? The question is are they really capable of? And that's the point with the creativity. I'm pretty much on that page. Are they creative enough to not only reproduce once and every time the same, yeah, but really be creative enough to come up with, I don't know, new products, new factories, new machines, new whatever. And that's one thing I doubt a little.
So I think the big, not mistake, but the big thing we do here is basically we still argue based on the economy and the, say, cultural rules or setups that our society is built on, or many societies are built on. And I think the main problem that we have is that we just don't still understand how we would excuse me how we would need to change, or how this society or culture would need to change. Basically, right now we incentivize, we sanction, we basically, as you said, we put taxation on say income from human labor, but taxation on human labor then effectively. So basically, the way we sanction, we incentivize, we measure performance, the way the jobs that we right now have, for example, it's not really, from my point of view, it's not really worthwhile or valued to have creativity. It's the peak people or the peak individuals that are incentivized on being creative. Usually we don't incentivize creativity a lot in the quantity of the word. So I think, and this is where I said before, that don't trust your computer is one thing. The other thing is I trust basically this kind or this part of the society. I would trust, because I'd say this economy or these rules or these cultures can change. We can adapt that. What I wouldn't trust, though, in society is that we bring in normative ways of dealing with AI or dealing with algorithms that will, in essence, as of today's society or rule set, will outsmart us. At the moment, absolutely fine, absolutely true. However, I think in the future we would need to basically recalculate our way of looking at what is performance, what is actually a valuable human labor, what is actually being incentivized or sanctioned, what are the cultural rule sets around the economics that we have, the economic drivers. Yeah.
Well, look, I think a key thing is that it's not about replacing all human labor with machine labor. I think it is about replacing a large proportion of human labor with machine labor, and having teams of machines and smart humans, you know, that are very well educated, maybe of a privileged background, working together with machines. And in that way, you know, have the power of the creativity of the human, the power of the creativity, and the workforce of a machine coming together. And I think that this was mentioned in several books, also of Eric Brynjolfsson of MIT. And I think really the winning teams are humans and machines together. But the key question is, what happens to a society if you have 10-20% of people in very high-paying jobs that are extremely efficient, effective, and they basically run huge businesses, and then you have 80% of people that are really not, that don't have access to jobs anymore, or to meaningful jobs anymore, or to well-paying jobs anymore. And I think this is the true challenge that we have in our society. Per, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I'm exactly on that page. So revealing my real personal opinion here. I mean, I've done. No, I'm sorry. I've done research in data mining and data science for 20 years now, and my personal opinion is computers are still bold. Yeah, they are dumb. They cannot get smarter than the guy who is programming the machine. So I think it's exactly this this relationship, or this team up between some smart humans and some smart machines. We heard yesterday, for example, a very nice talk by one colleague from TUM about the image thing in the MRIs, looking for diseases in MRT images. That's already a perfect example where the team up between the expert, the doctor, and the machine that tries to classify images that's a perfect example where I think the journey goes to, because the doctor typically has to go through a lot of images, and that's a bottleneck, of course. Yeah, and the accuracy of the doctor, of the human, is because of this bottleneck not perfect, so to say. And the machine can help to filter out questionable things, critical things, and filter out a lot of things that the human do not need to see anymore. And I think that's a good example of this team up, yeah, between a smart person and a smart computer. I think, of course, all the automation things, all the change we see, we have seen that before. There will be winners and losers. There will be jobs killed, but there will be jobs coming up again, I think, and that's.
And typically jobs we cannot really think about today. And that's
exactly.
the interesting thing.
Yeah.
I think the assumption would be that in maybe 20, 30, maybe 40 years, most people will work in jobs we don't have today. It's totally, we don't even can imagine what it will be. And I would like to highlight the self-driving car. So what does it really replace? Number one is the taxi drivers, okay. Number two is you probably build less cars because you are more efficient, but they are built by robots anyway, so not too many people to be replaced here. But what will happen, suddenly the drivers have time in their cars, so maybe we create a service industry just focusing at these drivers to entertain them in some way. So maybe there will be more people working in that industry suddenly than we are replacing with the taxi drivers. So, but we don't know. But I think this is exactly what happens. And we are a bit at the end of the session now. I think we saw a lot of interesting, or I heard a lot of interesting statements. But now I would like to get a bit concrete, a bit short term for everyone in the room. What would be your advice? I mean, there will be a lot happening in the next years. We all agree on that. But what are the skills we should invest in? What would you recommend someone who's 25, 30 years old? Or maybe what would you think about your children? What would you recommend to them? What should they learn? What skills should they develop? What is, we all agree it will not be future-proof, but what will be the foundation for them to be successful in the next 10, 20 years? So really concrete. Start with you, Holger.
I'm the one. Less time than others to think about it. I will make this very, very short. I think what everybody should learn today is a programming language. We invest a lot of money into learning natural languages. I think that's a big mistake. We need to start in school, in basic school levels already, to start teaching people in a programming language, and it doesn't matter which one it is. It is about how can I train the computer to do the job. That's something we are not good at in Germany. In China, they are way ahead of us, which is scaring me. The other one is, but this is my personal passion, I think we are not good enough in statistics. People need to learn what the interpretation of data means. So the one is about train your young people, how let the machine do the job, and the other one is about interpretation, how do I need to look into the data.
Thank you. Marcel?
Basically, I would recommend, as I said before, one is go out, read a book, look at art, be creative. Second, discipline yourself to do deep work. Try to make sense of what actually happens, what you see, what you actually experience. Try to make sense, and that's a really important skill, and it will be for the next 5 years. Sense making and diving into complexity and making yourself exposed to that kind of complexity. Work deeply.
Thank you.
So I would like to rely on science. So I read a paper which said that archaeology is a very good job profession because it's not so easy to get the data from the ground and understand all this sort of human and natural history. So I guess that is a good job for your child.
Did you know that we have a collaboration with archaeology?
No. Okay, so scrap that.
No. Not with everything. Yeah, I think I totally agree with Holger and Marcel, and also with Alex. Programming skills, I think, is very important, but also the sense making. That's a good point. I think so.
So generally speaking, learning is important, and that's what this conference is all about. And now we go into the sessions to learn even more. Thank you for attending today. Thank you to my panelists. I think very insightful, and have all a good day.